Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Radharani. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari. Yashodanandana Brajaranjana. Yashodanandana Brajaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Kunj Bihari Radha Kunj Bihari Radhe. Jaya Prabhupada Swami Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnu Pad Paramhamsa Prabhupada Stotra Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Srila Prabhupada. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda ki, Sama Veda Bhaktivinda ki, Tagore Premanande, all glories to some of the devotees, all glories to some of the devotees, all glories to some of the devotees, all glories to Shishi Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Narayanam Namaskritya. Naram Chaiva Narottamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. Tato Jayadiriyet. Nasta Prayeshu Vabhadreshu. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavatirtam Ashloke. Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Hi. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Grantha Raj Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 4, Text number 14, The Appearance of Sri Narada. Sutta Uvacha. Dvapare Samanu Prapte. Tritiye Yuga Paraye. Jata Parashad Yogi. Vasavyam Kalayahare. Sutta Uvacha. Dvapare Samanu Prapte. Tritiye Yuga Paraye. Jata Parasharad Yogi. Vasavyam Kalayahare. Sutta Uvacha. Dvapare Samanu Prapte. Tritiye Yuga Paraye. Jataha Parasharad Yogi. Vasavyam Kalayahare. Please repeat. Sutta Uvacha. Dvapare Samanu Prapte. Tritaye Yuga Paraye. Jata Parasharad Yogi. Vasavyam Kalayahare. Sutta Uvacha. Dvapare Samanu Prapte. Tritiye Yuga Paraye. Jataha Parasharad Yogi. Vasavyam Kalayahare. Brian Prabhu, you want to try it? Sutta Goswami. Uvacha. Said. Dvapare. In the second millennium. Samanu Prapte. On the advent of. Tritiye. Third. Yuga. Millennium. Paryaye. In the place of. Jata. Was begotten. Parasharat. By Parasha. Yogi. The great sage. Vasavya. In the womb of the daughter of Vasu. Kalaya. In the plenary portion. Hare. Of the personality of God.
of the personality of God.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Sutta Goswami said, when the second millennium overlapped the third, the great sage Vyasadeva was born to Parashar in the womb of Satyavati, the daughter of Vasu. Please repeat. Sutta Goswami said, when the second millennium overlapped the third, the great sage Vyasadeva was born to Parashar in the womb of Satyavati, the daughter of Vasu. There is a chronological order of the four millenniums, namely Satya, Dwapar, Treta, and Kali, but sometimes there is overlapping. During the regime of Vaivasvata Manu, there was an overlapping of the 28th round of the four millenniums, and the third millennium appeared prior to the second. In that particular millennium, Lord Krishna also descends. Because of this, there was some particular alteration. The mother of the great sage Satyavati, the daughter of Vasu, the mother of the great sage was Satyavati, the daughter of Vasu, and the father was the great Parashar Muni. That is the history of Vyasadeva's birth. Every millennium is divided into 3 periods, and each period is called a Sandhya. Vyasadeva appeared in the third Sandhya of that particular age. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuru Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Prayam Rupa Kadamayam Jadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagachatam Sagana Raghunapam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitam Shra Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sate Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhyavata Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Mate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatade Shakarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Krishna. So, let's read the verse again. Text number 14. Sutta Goswami said, when the second millennium overlapped the third, the great sage Vyasadeva was born to Parashar in the womb of Satyavati, the daughter of Vasu. So, now, with the appearance of, the title of this chapter, the appearance of Sri Narada, we're getting introduced to Srila Vyasadeva over the next coming verses, where Srila Vyasadeva is feeling some lamentation due to his feeling of incompleteness. Now, we know Srila Vyasadeva has compiled all of our Vedic literature. He's put it to writing. We think that as time progresses, we are progressing in society. Humankind is progressing. That is a conventional wisdom, that the human species a few thousand years ago was very primitive. And as time progresses, as science progresses, we're getting more advanced and our capabilities are growing. But actually, that's a falsity. It's completely wrong. This idea that, the human species evolved from, starting with a single cell amoeba up through these different life forms, waterborne species made to land like this. It's complete opposite of how we understand the process of creation in Srimad Bhagavatam. And we see that in the prior ages, the capacity of the human form of life was far greater than what we see today. In a pure physical term, we were recently at a museum and they were showing this body armor. And this body armor was weighing like some 50, 60 pounds. And the warriors used to fight wearing this head armor. Show me soldiers who are willing to wear that type of armor and not travel in airplane tanks, but on foot for hundreds and thousands of miles over a long period. And they would fight in great vigor. So the physical capacity of the humankind is actually declining. Oh, we have more modern nutrition programs, we have more modern medical technologies, more modern exercise and workout regimes, but you see that the veracity, the strength is declining. But let alone strength, the mental capacity. We celebrate that we have these great search engines and we can bring all this knowledge to our fingertips. But in the prior ages, all that knowledge was up here. The student would go to the Gurukul and would hear the entire Vedas. And just by hearing once, they would have memorized it completely. And be able to speak from any portion of it upon call. Just like we can go to Vedabase.com and pull up any verse, right? Beautiful. That technology is actually a supplement to the degrading human condition. So Srila Vyasadeva put to writing all of this, recognizing that mankind's capacity is actually declining. It is not rising. Yes, we celebrate all this awesome AI technology and these wonderful inventions, but there is no need for artificial intelligence in those days because the natural intelligence was so strong and so profound. So we should get off this foolish idea that mankind is progressing. We have factual evidence, The memory capacity of us is declining. I always say, we can't even remember now a 10-digit phone number. Think about when we were growing up, how many phone numbers we knew. We knew all of our friends' phone numbers, our relatives' phone numbers. We memorized everything. Everyone's birthday. Now, if it doesn't show up on my phone as a reminder, I forget. I barely remember that it's my wife's birthday today. Like, that's how foolish we are. Right? But that's the nature. So Srila Vyasadeva came in acknowledgement of this. So let's own that fact, that we are declining in capacity, despite this so-called advancement in technology. And the technology is just simply trying to supplant what we have lost internal ability to do. We didn't need a Google search engine previously, because it was all up in here. It's an important reminder that until we path of spiritual life, we're not on the right track of progress. Progress is moving the human capability forward. But as time goes on, even the ability for angels to express themselves is being completely lost in this truncated life that we live of cell phones and text messages and acronyms and things. We're losing the ability to articulate our feelings, our emotions, our sentiments, and thus the connectivity between individuals. This thing was supposed to kiss and unite us and bring us closer, but in reality, it's separating us. It's making us further removed from each other, and so it's an opportunity for us to take note of that and take it back to the source of real knowledge, to Srimad Bhagavatam. So that was the PSA, the public service announcement, related to this verse. Now, so we can have a little history discussion, just because I think it's kind of interesting. And we have a homework assignment. This is something that's, I've read this verse in purport many times, and I have yet to find a good answer to this issue around the yugas flipping. As Yeshua talks about, there was an overlapping of the 28th round of the millenniums, and he starts with the chronological order for the millenniums is Satyuga, Dwapara Yuga, Kali Yuga. But we always speak about it as Satyuga, Treta Yuga, then Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga. And so there is some, discussion there, and I know I've asked a strong, conclusive answer to this, because, there's one idea that Dwapara 2 and Treta means 3. So, the first Yuga is Satyuga, then the second is Dwapara Yuga, then the third is Treta Yuga, and then the fourth is Kali Yuga. On the other hand, we see naming convention that Satyuga is often known as Krita Yuga. Krita means 4, Treta means 3, Dwapara means 2, and Kali means 1 in the naming convention dice. So there's some different it actually doesn't mean 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, but it's in ranking order of highest to lowest, to be more precise, but in essence the same. So we see that the yugas have flipped, and there's one discussion that it is due to the curse of Gautama Rishi on his wife Alya. When Lord Indra duped her into thinking, he played a trick on her, engaged with her in relation, and of course that she was transgressing her marital position, and thus Gautama Rishi cursed her. Stone. And when her son heard of this, again, this is something that's purported, but there's a little bit of a disconnect. When her son heard, he became upset that she would have to wait, stay as a stone until, of course, who is going to relieve her? Lord Ram. Lord Ramchandra, by putting his toe on this stone, would this curse, and she'd regain her form, and she would have the wonderful benediction of the blessing of the Lord. And this is the nature of a curse from a great devotee like Gautama Rishi, that she would get the darshan of the Supreme Lord. But because her son was not so, lamenting that Treta Yuga, when Lord Ram comes, is many millions of years away, he prayed very intensely to the Lord, and thus the Lord acquiesced and brought Treta Yuga up before Dwapara Yuga. So that is one action. But the challenge in that explanation is that, we hear in parts that Lord Ramchandra appeared in the 24th Yuga cycle. And we know that Krishna appears in the 28th Yuga cycle of Vyasadeva Manu. And in this, we know the order of the millenniums is Satyuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga. So if Treta Yuga came forward during the appearance of Lord Ramchandra, well, that would have happened 4 Yuga cycles before, not in this Yuga cycle. So there's some disconnect. So that's our homework assignment. We'll all go out and research. We're going to ask our Shri Nandanandan Prabhu, who I have asked before this also, and I don't recall the answer I got, so I'm inspired now to go and ask him, because he is our resident scholar, and will find the right answer for us. But this I don't know, so I can't talk about that. So that's my most discussions don't open with what we can't talk about, but that's the reality. I don't know the detail. Take it from Srila Prabhupada that the chronological order, one of them is this Satyuga, Dwapara Yuga, Treta Yuga, Kali Yuga. And we know in this era, we see Satyuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Kali Yuga. Again, it's a technical detail. It isn't going to help us chant our rounds nicely, invoke the loving relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But it's an interesting dynamic that maybe we can do a little research and test our capabilities. So that's our homework assignment for today's verse. So let's talk a little bit about the appearance of Srila Vyasadeva and Parashar Muni. So just at the beginning of time, Lord Brahma, again, going back to my opening statement. So Lord Brahma, he created all the planets and all the universes. All the planets within the universe. So he created all of these. But once he created all the planets, they needed to populate them. Needed to populate them. There was no population. So 10 sons emerged from his mind. And these 10 sons are the great ages that we know about. And one of the great ages is Angira Muni. Of course, Vashishta Muni, Atri, and Marich, and many others. 10 others. The 10th was actually Narada Muni, who we're going to see the appearance, who remained a Naishtika Brahmachari, so he did not enter Grahastha Ashram, so he was not able to propagate the population of the earth. But the other 9 rishis engaged in creating off progeny to fill earth with the human form of life. So here we see it right at the very beginning of the creation of the universe, the human form of life was manifest. The first entity was Lord Brahma, a Jiva Tattva, a human life. So this idea of evolution is bunk, is bogus. It starts with the human form, and then all the forms of life, manifest. So these 10 sages, 9 of them engaged in offspring. So Angira Muni, his son was Angirasa, and then he had a son who was a great king. And this king actually gave birth to Satyavati, who was the wife of, not the wife, but the mother of Srila Vyasadeva. So I'll correct statement here in a second. So, Lord Brahma, the 10 sages, 9 of which were engaged in life. So one of them was Angira Muni. Angirasa is his son. His son became the father of Satyavati. And that whole pastime, there are a few different iterations of that, but actually Satyavati was cursed. She was a cursed Apsara, one of the heavenly denizens. And so she was living as a fish. Actually, it's not Satyavati, it's her mother. that was living as a fish. And again, it goes on. So this fisherman, Vasu, found this fish, and there were two children within it, a boy and a girl. And the boy, they were both given to the king of that land, who is the son of Angirasa. And the king took and gave the daughter to this fisherman, Vasu. Vasu was a fisherman, so she grew up in this fisherman village, town, in this area of land. And she was, because she was growing up in a fisherman area, she had a scent, a smell. And as anyone's been to anywhere near fish, I mean, it smell good. If you've had the great misfortune of going to a fish market, it's not a place to go. It is a very, bad smelling place. And so she was called Matsyagandha because she was smelling of fish. That was her name. And she had this occupation that she was operating a ferry boat across the river and ferrying people back and forth. And because of her smell, she was not so well received. And she was, distraught, and so it was, in one way, living a very, cursed life. But actually, she's a very blessed personality. And so one day, Parashar Muni, so the lineage of Muni he is coming from the lineage of Vashishta Muni. So Vashishta Muni was one of the 10 sons, but one of the 9 that were engaged in progeny. And he was born in this lineage, that is the appearance of Parashar Muni. And Parashar Muni was a great sage. He actually, in the womb of his mother, had studied and learned the entire Vedas. Right? Normally, it takes years and years out, in our manifest form. But he mastered all the Vedas in the womb of his mother. So very nice scholar. And so he was a great rishi. And so one day he was crossing this river, and the Parashar Muni saw this Matsyagandha. And he noted that she was a very elevated personality. And also that the constellations had arranged in a very auspicious time. So not out of lust, but out of seeing this arrangement, he understood that a great personality was going to appear. Now, she was unmarried. And, there is obviously a great etiquette that a girl does not engage and a man does not engage in relations outside of marriage, and only for the provision of Krishna conscious children. So, there was a dilemma, but Parashar Muni was such a great sage that he was able to engage with, to conceive this child, but still maintain her purity, her virginity. So he assured her that you give this child, but that will not disqualify you from then getting married, because she wasn't married. And in a cultured society, one does not marry, a taken woman. So she was by Parashar Muni that her chastity, her purity would not be tarnished in the least. And so she gave birth to a child. And as they're crossing, talked about this a few weeks ago, but that's why we see that Srila Vyasadeva is called Krishna Dvaipayana, referring to the confluence of the rivers, where the island was, where he took birth. And so Srila Vyasadeva took birth and actually Parashar Muni took custody of the child, and she became, but in this engagement, Parashar Muni gave her a great blessing, that actually her scent, her odor would change to the most beautiful and sweet fragrance of musk, that musk of the deer that is so attractive. This would become, so she lost her, matsugandha, this really bad fragrance. And so she was blessed by this. And actually her fragrance would carry, it was said, 1 yojana, which is considered like 8 miles. So very auspicious. And of course, she later then married King Shantanu, who then gave birth to Bhishma Dev. And so that's, the lineage between Srila Vyasadeva and these personalities. Again, all technical understanding. But it's an interesting history since Srila Prabhupada written about this history. And so, of course, Parashar Muni, under the guided or taking care of Srila Vyasadeva, raised Srila Vyasadeva to be, this great acharya. He was a literary incarnation of the Supreme Lord, who went on to then perform, this greatest of all service for humanity, which is this Vedic literature, and put it into writing. Again, he is not the author, but he took what was there, which was being passed down through oral reception, and put it to writing. And of course, he great Lord Ganesh to write, and as Srila Vyasadeva was dictating, Lord Ganesh was writing. In this way, all of the Vedas, all the Puranas, the Mahabharata, all of these great epics were put to writing. And, in due course, as we progress into Srimad Bhagavatam, we'll see that despite the contribution from Srila Vyasadeva, he was feeling unsatisfied, unfulfilled, because as his guru, Sri Narada Muni will advise him that because you have not spoken direct Krishna, you are now not feeling fulfilled, and thus this happened. So this is a little bit of the and one point we can take out from this, we see that Satyavati, she was given a very difficult circumstance, but out of that emerged something extraordinary. Right? She became mother of Vyasadeva, and an extraordinary circumstance. And so, in our life too, we'll face, different difficulties. But by the blessing of the Lord, by the blessings of Shishi Radhakund Vihari, even those difficult things can turn into wonderful outcomes for us. So we can have some faith by seeing the journey of some of these great personalities. So that is a little bit about the history of this, and so we'll be moving forward now to unpack much Vyasadev's contributions. I don't want to take from what we'll be hearing in the coming days and weeks. So that's a little bit on verse number 14. So we have a homework assignment to go figure out this sequence of yugas, and we'll enjoy that journey of trying to search this and talking to different devotees, and let's see what we can find out. Okay? Thank you very much. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Srila Prabhupada. Any comments, questions, discussion?
Reiterate on this the Vedas are authors, Aparushia. They don't, you say they didn't come from Vyasadeva.
Yes.
He just, Aparushia is like this altruistic, like came in the wind or something.
Aparushya means infallible. Infallible. Because they come from the infallible source, the Supreme Lord. So Krishna is the compiler of the Vedas. right? We see in Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Vedaisha sarvar aham eva Vedanta krur veda eva vidchaham. He says that indeed I am the compiler of the Vedanta, to be known from Vedanta. Krishna himself in chapter 15 of Bhagavad Gita established he is the author of the Vedas. Srila Vyasadeva's role was to put it to writing, because the Vedas previously being passed down from guru to disciple through oral reception and hearing, that chain was going to be broke because of the inability of us to remember what we heard. And remember everything we just heard in this discussion, right? That's true. I don't even remember, and I spoke it, right? So Srila Vyasadeva to writing what was already existing, the Vedas. The Vedas are coming from Krishna. He is the author, the compiler of the Vedanta. That he establishes very clearly, 15th verse in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Right? And remember, the Bhagavad Gita did not originate on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. You can say, wait a minute, what about this timeline? Because Srila Vyasadeva predates that. No. Srila Vyasadeva, the Gita is eternal. There's millions of years, right? Krishna begins in the 4th chapter, talking about how he had already discussed this to the Manu and to Ikshvaku. And many times before, he has given this knowledge. Right? So let's not get lost in that detail. So, and then Srila Vyasadeva, what he did, he took the Vedas and broke it into these 4 parts. Right? So to put it into bite-sized chunks. Still of the Sam, Yajur, Rig, and the Tharva Veda. There are giant compilations. Millions of verses. Right? Previously, it was one Veda. So they broke it down into kind of 4 subcategories. But it all is of one Veda. And that author is Krishna. And remember, who heard it first? Lord Brahma. Right? Tene Ridde Brahma Adi Kavaye. Right? In the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, we read. Right? Just take us there for a moment. In the very first, we see Tene Brahma Ridde Adi Kavaye. Right? So this knowledge was imparted into the heart of Lord Brahma by Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Krishna, right? The son of Vasudeva. So this knowledge originates from Krishna. That is why it's called Aparishya, infallible, because Krishna is infallible. He is perfect, the perfect source.
So this knowledge is in our heart also. This knowledge is not in our heart also.
We are Sat Chit Ananda. What does Chit mean? Full of knowledge. So yes, because Krishna is full of knowledge, we are also full of knowledge. But our is covered by the material mode, the conditioning. Right? Just like if I have a bright lamp and I put a heavy cloth over it. The lamp is shining, but I don't see any light. Covering. So this knowledge is there. But we have to bring it out. And how to bring it out? By our sadhana. That's what will reveal this knowledge. Because we will start breaking away at that covering. Any other comments or questions?
So that is why we say that is why Chetodarpanam is taking out the cover.
Yes. Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtana movement, which cleanses the heart of the dust accumulated for millions of years. Cheto darpanam arjanam bhavadabhagnir nivapanam This Cheto Darpana Marjana means to clean. So we have to clean the heart, not with a rag and soap, but with the soap of the holy names. And as we remember, our study of Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam, the goal of studying Srimad Bhagavatam is to inspire us to chant our rounds very nicely. Because the knowledge will ultimately be revealed that way. That's where the knowledge will ultimately be revealed. Because it's coming from within. But we have to cleanse the heart. And we've accumulated a lot of dust. Like this mirror. We say the mirror of the heart, right? You can't see yourself in the mirror if there's 1 foot of dust on the mirror. Right? You have to remove the dust. That's why I say, glory to Sri Krishna's Sun movement, which cleanses the dust accumulated on our heart. Anything else? Thank you very much. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki.